Good morning, Debbie. How are you? Jen, welcome. Thanks for joining me for today's webinar with Angela on practice management. It's going to be a cracker. I've just been chatting a bit to Angela what we're going to talk. Claire, welcome. Thanks very much for joining us. Hey guys, I'm going to sort of get everything set. I'm going to get my tech working. Feel free to get yourself set as well, whether you want a cup of coffee or you're having your breakfast or whatever it is, because we're going to kick off very, very soon. And I'd love to hear from you before we do. We got the chat box if you want to open that. That's kind of how we're going to communicate. Greg, welcome, mate. I want to know, what's the main thing that's brought you here today? What's the thing that you'd like to ask or know? Or, if you've got there's a specific problem you're grappling with, Josh, welcome. A specific problem that you'd like to know, then get ready to put it in the chat box, because I'd love to make this about what you want to cover off. So we're going to get started in just a few minutes. So get set and I'll be right with you. G'day, Mats. Welcome, Nigel. More people joining us today, which is great. It's going to be a good webinar. Guys, I'm just getting final sets for the session. Joe, ditto, welcome. As I said to everybody else, if you would do me a favor and just kind of have a bit of a think while we're getting set up about what you'd like to get from today. What's brought you here? What's the one question you'd like to ask, or the one insight, or maybe you've got a problem that you're grappling with, or looking for solutions, or looking for additional insight. If you can get ready when I kick it off, and I'm going to ask you, and you can just pop it in that chat box and let me know where we should take this today. Because I think, Ryan, welcome. These are always better when, we can drive it in a direction that you guys leave here with answers to the questions you want to ask. Matthew, ditto, welcome. So we're going to kick off. Colin, mate, good, welcome. Good to have you on board. We're going to kick off very soon. Martin, same. So yeah, have a think about what you'd like to get out today, and I'm looking forward to this one. I'll see you soon. Okay, good people. I'm here, you're here. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to Friday's webinar. And thanks very much for joining me on this. What I wanted to do today is dive into this area of practice management, and in particular, the practice manager. It's a role that I think sooner or later, as an advisor and as a business owner, when your business reaches that point, you're going to need somebody who can really have oversight of some of the things that need to get done from an operational point of view. And in particular, if there's certain areas you want to focus on, or certain tasks that you're good at, but you know that operationally you're not, then this is a role that sooner or later gets on the table. But today we're going to dive into not only the role, we're going to dive into how it works. We might even talk through the kind of practice managers you can hire. We're going to get some insights into maybe what Angela's experienced or seen by being a practice manager that maybe isn't as obvious. And equally importantly, hopefully you're going to leave here with some big insight. Malcolm, welcome, mate. John, good. Thank you for joining us. Jill, ditto. So do me a favor. Can you, I want to make sure I've got the right audio and everything set up. So let me just drop out of here. Can you do me just a quick favor and head over to the chat box? There we go. And let me know whether the audio is good, that the videos looks good. Hopefully the audio is crisp and it's clear, and I'm not operating off the monitor audio like I did last time around. That's a bad mistake to make. You just let me know. Audio is perfect, Jill. Thank you, Greg. Perfect. Colin, lovely. Okay, second question. Loud and clear. Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Do me a favor. I'm quite a visual person. I'd love to know where you are right now as you watch this. Are you in the office? Are you at home looking out the window? Are you chomping on your breakfast? Are you driving the car? Hopefully not driving the car. Just let me know. I'm in the office here at Alexandria. It's a beautiful day out there. Home office, Ryan. Nigel's in the home office overlooking your pool, Malcolm. Mate, that sounds perfect. At home watching my garden doing the mowing. Jill, that sounds strangely cathartic, I think. Home office, says Cole. Martin's in the office today. Matt, ditto office. Dan Andrews, prison. Oh, Matt, I love it. Daughter's bedroom, says Joe. Fair enough. Greg Newton working from home, just got out of the spa. You pools and your spa people in Melbourne's lockdown. John, yeah, that's not fun at all. Okay, final thing. We've got something in the Q&A. Debbie, in the office with the blind shut because it's glorious day outside. Yeah, you can take that anyway. Debbie, head over to the chat box because then, yeah, you can sort of get involved with everything and ask questions there as well. Perfect. Nigel's already let me know what he wants to know is when is the right time to engage a practice manager? And that is a tip-top question. I would love to know. There's obviously a reason that you maybe saw the LinkedIn post or read the article and you went, you know what? I want to come along to that. There's something about that that appeals. It's something that interests me. There's something I want to ask. There's something I want to know. The problem I want to solve. In other words, what are the things that I should be looking to ask Angela that's going to make this the best possible session for you? Just pop it in the chat box. What do you want to get out of this? What's the most important thing to cover? And as if we don't cover it, I'll have done you a disservice. Let me know. Pop it in the chat box so I can ask Angela the questions. And as you know, anytime during this, if something comes up and you want me to ask her, pop it to the chat box and I'll be monitoring it so we can ask the questions. So we've already got when's the best time to engage a practice manager? Malcolm, how to help merge a number of businesses? Ooh, interesting one. And I think the conversation we could possibly have around this is just about, sometimes you have, particularly with multidisciplinary businesses, you're dealing with different people, different mindsets. And I think we can have some insight there as well. Key functions of a practice manager. Great question. Jill wants to know what practices are thinking about practice management and the benefits they can provide a practice. Okay, we're going to put that out to everybody. I mean, I'm going to ask you along the way who has a practice manager or who's worked with one, but guys, that is really good to start with. So please do me a favor. Claire, Colin, Debbie, ditto, Jenna, welcome. Thanks for joining us. All of you, I would love Michael, always good to have you on board. Robert, pop your questions in there and I'll try and do my best to get them answered as they come on. Matt, evolving from advisor to practice manager / rainmaker. Nice question. Again, I think this could be the focus thing. So we have got so much to work with and I'm going to do my best to draw it in the right direction. If I don't, let me know. Here's a bit of the background. I met Angela when I was presenting at a workshop for I think it was IOOF. And we were talking a lot about, I think it was systems and processes and pricing. And she asked this question and I turned around to her and smiled. I'm a bit of a systems guy. And I went, you must be a practice manager or an operations manager. She looked at me and went, I am. And it was just that moment, the question she was asking, she was so insightful and smart about looking at it from how do I make this work? And she was incredibly practical. And from that moment, we just kind of started talking. She's one of the easiest people to deal with. She's also such a hard worker. And on top of that, really, really smart. So let's jump in and let's get started on this. Angie, you there? Let's get your video going. Hello.
That was a very nice introduction.
All true, 100% true. Oh. Do you remember that workshop?
Yes, I do remember the workshop. Yeah.
It was. I can't even remember the question, but I just remember hearing it and going, there's somebody who's thinking through the nuts and bolts and how do we make this work and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
So where are you?
Yeah, I'm at home. I'm at home in my kitchen living area. I've got 2 children, lost children, we call them, because they're in year 8 and year 9. So they've been forgotten by Dan. And I've got a son who's in year 4 and he is doing his stuff in his bedroom and homeschooling, but he'll be back on Monday. So
you got 3 kids in the house?
3 kids in the house, yeah.
Kitchen that you've designed yourself?
Yes, I did design my kitchen myself.
Webinar. You are literally juggling everything right now.
Yeah.
So let's just jump in because there's so much we could cover. And
right, it's already so many good questions.
Yes, there are. Let's make sure we cover them. So for those, let's start it off by just saying, for those who don't know, haven't heard of you, God forbid it, or don't know BBB, can you give them a bit of background about, what the business is all about, who you help, how it works, just the overview?
Yeah, so BBB is an accounting and wealth firm based in South Melbourne. We specialise in doing the wealth and business services accounting for medical professionals predominantly, but also just other professionals. It's been in business for over 26 years. The financial planning side of things is about 15 years old. So while it's established, it's something that we have now turned our attention very strongly towards. And I joined the business over 3 years ago, and I replaced a practice manager actually that was retiring. He was in his 60s. And was very much what I consider a practice manager. So was very into the financials of the business, was very into the day-to-day running of the business.
Yep.
Whereas I suppose, funnily, when I said that I would take the role, I said, can I change my title though? And they said, oh, sure, what do you want to be? So I called myself an operations and development manager, which I didn't quite know what that was, but it sounded pretty good to me. So, and I think that, Stu, when I was reading through your notes last night and doing a bit of prep, I had a bit of a laugh to myself. My kids would say lol, so I laughed out loud that I was looking at the 3 roles that you had and saying that, this is what you have in an organization, and that you have an entrepreneur, sort of creator type person. And I said, oh yeah, that's me. And when I was reading it, thinking, imagine stuff that hasn't happened yet, and what do you want to do? And I'm like, oh, that would be my role. And then I kept reading and went, oh, the organizer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's me. I'm like, oh, these are the things that I have to do. And then I got down to the doer and said, oh, sometimes I'm the doer as well. So I was interested in all the roles. And then when I thought about it more, I thought, you're right, it is really important for the organizer to be the organizer. And sometimes I fall into the doing, and there's a reason that you fall into the doing, which is because to know what other people are doing in your organization, I think, is super important for someone in my role. You need to be able to understand the process from where to go. Needs to be understand how it affects your team, how it affects your clients, how what you're doing affects the business owners. So I think as much as you don't want to get into the doing every day, it's important that you know about the doing. And then I think in terms of being the entrepreneur or the creator, that's just part of who I am. So I think maybe that's what makes me enjoy my role so much, and hopefully be valuable to my team. But I think that coming up with the ideas is the hard part. So if you can get a practice manager that wants to do a bit of that and has that innately in them, that's where you're sort of at the real sweet spot.
It's funny, we're going to dive into this because you didn't start out as a practice manager, but I remember talking to a potential client a while ago. He needed a different kind of coach, but he said something which really struck with me, is where he built this business from, like, they designed interiors of offices. They built this business from very small to like 50 million, and they were going for the next level. And he said, look, I always get involved so I know how to do something if I need to. But once I know basically how it works, that's the point at which you go, right, who else is going to do it? But he said that ability, if we ever lose somebody or someone drops out, to go, okay, jacket off, sleeves up, I'm going to get in there. He said, I think if you ever lose control of it fully, that could be a problem, but getting drawn into doing too much of it is also an issue.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the start, because you didn't start out as a practice manager, did you?
No.
So
I suppose I started working from the age of 14. So I'm just a bakery chick, but I've always been a worker. And I then went through uni. I actually am a product of a Melbourne Uni Arts degree, which I think has held me in extremely good stead in terms of my communication, my ability to write, organizational skills, I suppose. Some of those things really do come from that. So no, I didn't have a financial background. I didn't do echo. I didn't do accounting at school. I was working at a pub actually when I finished uni, and I went over to a table full of gentlemen that were having a bloke's lunch, and I asked them all if they'd like another beer, because they'd finished their beers and I was cleaning their plates. And they said, do you know that you're the first person that's ever asked us if we'd like something else? And I said, oh, well, it just goes, why would you not want to have another beer? Anyway, I did that, and I got them all afternoon, and they said, oh, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I've done...
Hey, I think your audio's gone a little funny. Can anybody else hear that Angie's audio's just gone a little bit odd? Let me know if you can. There you go, it's back.
Better.
But
Yeah. So then they asked me whether I'd like to come and be a financial planning admin and paraplanner sort of person for their.
You there?
So I just walked straight through the door. So yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think can I just do a quick check? Yeah, okay, Matt said, I think you've dropped out a couple of times, but let's keep going. If it happens again, we can keep going. Sorry, so
No, I can't hear you.
you can't hear me? Can you guys hear me? Hey, Matt, can you just do, yes.
Stu, can you hear me?
Yeah, we've got you back, Angela. How are you going? Yep, can hear.
Yes, we can hear both now.
I think we've got you. Have we got you? Hear all parties. Beautiful. Okay, we're back, Ange. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, Stu.
You can't hear me? Okay, let's, you might need to just check that your audio settings haven't switched across from, so go into the settings and check it out just very quickly. Let me just do a bit of a recap while we do that. So would you like another beer?
Can you give me a thumbs up if you want me to keep talking?
Yeah, keep going. Me?
Just keep going, because I can't hear you.
Going.
Okay, keep going. All right, so yeah, and then it became, I suppose, something that I loved. So I then went on to do a grad dip in financial planning and fully threw myself into it and just knew that that's what I wanted to do. And that sort of evolved. So I was still really doing a lot of admin work and writing SOAs for people and learning the ropes. So did a certificate in financial markets, really got into the broking side of things because that's what the advisor I was working for was doing. So I learned all about that.
Okay.
And then I suppose after I'd been there for five years, and then I thought, oh God, I could be here for the rest of my life and I would only have one job outside of uni. So I decided to take a year off. So I went to them, and that was pretty hard, I suppose, because they really saw me as becoming an integral part of their business. I took 6 months off, worked at Credit Suisse First Boston, and worked in their broking division for advisors. So that was fantastic. I don't know if people know Martin Rose, but he was. Check your audio settings in. Oh, I haven't switched over.
Can you,
sorry, Stu.
Give us, guys. I'm just going to give Angela a quick call. Stick with us for a second while we do. We'll see if we can get this fixed. Hey, do you know what? I've had some of the best webinars.
I haven't changed anything.
I've come out of it.
We're going to go old school.
We're going to go old.
Hi.
Hey, just have a quick check that your audio settings within Zoom haven't switched over from what you're on before to something new.
And why would it?
Sometimes if you knock it, it can head over. The other alternative is I'm going to give you I'm going to copy across the invite details, and you may be able to call in to the number where we'll get an audio that way. How does that sound?
Okay. How do I check my?
So go into preferences. And it should be able to give you where your speaker is set to. In my case, display audio, and it will also tell you which microphone it's set to. Thank you very much for your patience, guys.
Sorry, everyone.
It's all good, all good. I've had this happen so many times.
Where am I going? Sorry, in preferences. Am I not in the Zoom?
So just, go into Zoom and just double check. So if you've got Zoom preferences.
Where am I finding that?
You should be in your menu. There we go. Matt's helping out. For Windows, there's a cog in the top right-hand corner of the Zoom Home app. Matt, you're a legend. Thank you. So what I think might have happened, it's a regular thing in our newfound Zoom. Yeah, Jill's totally on board. She says it happens. Or it's got some really odd quirks, Zoom. But what may have happened is you may have started out with your audio set up as the mic is for your laptop. And what might have happened is it switched across to something else. If not.
So can you show me again? So I can just see you on the screen and me on the screen.
Okay, so can you, there should be a cog in the top right-hand corner of the Zoom Home app. Can you see a cog?
No, I can only see view or the chat box.
Okay, so there's no panel. Let's
full screen.
So there's no one settings. What I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm going to copy this across. Let me see if
I'm FaceTiming you so I can show you my screen. Or bottom left-hand corner, audio settings.
The invitation. Oh, we all have issues with Zoom. Hold on, let me just.
Okay, I've got audio settings. Thank you to that person.
What was that?
Okay.
Is it set up correctly?
Okay, hang on, mate. Okay, not great.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. Okay, we've got test. Which speakers test have you got? Same as system. So can you do the test speaker thing, which is the drop down? Just click on it. There's a little drop down thing. Okay, same as system.
Should I just put my headphones in?
Okay, playing. So let's go headset. Okay, and now let's do test speaker, the one up top.
Okay.
Thanks for sticking with us, guys.
Test speaker. Okay, can you hear something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
No, only through this.
Can you hear me through your headphones?
No.
Okay, so what I want you to do is point the phone at your screen so I can see it. Okay, can you see the drop down at the top where it says speaker?
Yep.
I click on that and then shoot. Not that one, the one next to there. Choose headphones. Can you hear me? Can you hear me in your headphones now?
No.
Okay, let's go to your system settings.
Oh.
Good. Okay, so headphones, headsets. You know what I'm going to suggest you do? Drop out, come on back.
Okay.
Do that. In the meantime, Angie's going to be second. Hey guys, thank you so much for hanging on. I wanted to share, just in case you hadn't checked out the article that Angela's talking about. One of the things we've spoken about a lot of times within an advice business. Yeah, it might be the earbuds. And yeah, exactly. You do have to select so I'm hoping rebooting will kick it back in. Generally, when I've noticed, this is a bit of e-myth, right? Sometimes you get the old, you got someone who starts the business, generally entrepreneur. They're the creator. They come out there and they go, where's the opportunity? And the kind of skill set that's required to do that is being able to kind of have time and space to focus, look at the market, understand it. And basically, as Dan Sullivan says, sort of create stuff out of nowhere. That makes sense. The second sort of role is the organizer. Angela, how you going?
Hello.
Back?
We're back.
Hey, there we go.
I don't know. So sorry, everyone. I did nothing. I was just chatting.
That's good. What I think's happened, as Matt said, is I think the audio settings in your system have either reset at the system level, which means,
right.
or alternatively, that's a problem. But anyway, let's kick in.
Okay.
All right. By the way, some of the best webinars I've had started like this. So yeah. Hey guys, thank you so much for helping with that. And thank you for your patience. Okay. So where I got to was your career and financial planning began with would you like a beer question that no one else asked?
Yeah. So it evolved from that. And then I went and worked for them for, 5 years. So did the grad dip in financial planning, did all the study I needed to get up to speed. Yeah. As I said, then it got to the point where I thought I could be there forever. And what else am I going to do? So I did broking for 6 months. And then I went and worked for Westpac Private Bank in their financial planning department for less than 6 months. And I actually begged my old business partners my old employers to take me back, but we decided that they were going to buy a business. So they bought an additional book that I then managed and took over. So a whole client base that they bought, and I went running from there. It was a much older client base, so that was a really big challenge in terms of having older clients and being only 27 at that stage. So that was a big personal hurdle for me, but, took it in my stride, I suppose, and went on with it. But 3 children later is where we then made the change. So I suppose I felt I was running from being a mum to being a business owner to being an advisor. The 2 guys that I worked with were busy being accountants and financial planners themselves. So a lot of the operations of the business itself fell onto me. So hiring and what are we doing about this and looking after the admin team and all of that. So it just happened that way, that I suppose naturally for me, I just gravitate towards doing those things.
It's incredible. Like juggling kids and being a full-time advisor is like, it's very, very difficult. Rachel had the same sort of challenge when she became an advisor.
Yeah.
You stuck it out for a while though, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And we went through the GFC and we went through all of that. And the clients were quite well placed, even though they were much older and obviously very concerned about their retirement balances. They were in a good position. So it was more, you know, when I said, oh, I'm going to leave, you know, that they were all very much on board and very supportive. You learn something from everything. And I suppose I've never regretted selling my business. Firstly, I really admire the two advisors that I sold my business to. I knew from the word go, I just put the feelers out there, and it was word of mouth as to how I found a buyer for my business. And I was very happy with what I got for my business. I could have pushed harder probably, but that wasn't the outcome I was looking for. The outcome I was looking for was to take some time out and be able to reset, I suppose, and spend some time with my family, because my kids, were sort of moved from pillar to post when they were pretty young. So selling my business, I mean, that's something that, you know, it's daunting for a lot of people, but to me, it's always just another chapter. You'd learn something from it.
When you look back at the business that you had,
yeah,
the size that you have now as a practice manager, does it make you feel like, wow, that was a better business than I even realized it was? Or does it make you look back and go, you know what, if I had that time again, I would make my life easier by doing this better or that better?
Oh, good question. I think you just, I think I'm the sort of person that the more I've got to do, the better I do things. So this whole COVID thing has been very tricky for lots of us, but me being in the office, like, I love to be surrounded by not mayhem, but action. I love having things to do. I love solving problems. I love bouncing ideas off people. I love people's ideas that they give me. So from that sense, Stu, I think where I was in my career and what I knew then, I was just doing things naturally. And again, like, one of the questions that I've seen come through is about, you know, how do you manage change, and how do you manage dealing with the other people in your organization, and how do you bring on board other practices? All of those things are such good questions, but I haven't had any formal training in change management. A lot of that just comes innately from managing a family or managing, you know, life, and this is what works and this is what doesn't work. So I think where we are now as a business is definitely the foundations and things that we're building leagues above where I was before. The firm I was at before was smaller, and we didn't have the resources and things like that. So I think the base that we're building now is completely solid, and I'm really excited about it.
So it's interesting. I've had this conversation. I think if you were to put a handle and say, what is the cause of most business problems? It's usually communication, right?
Yeah.
A communication problem. And if you solve the communication, it gets a lot clearer. And I think, I had this conversation a while ago with someone said, the one thing we don't teach enough of our kids about is how to communicate and resolve conflict. And we don't do that early enough at school. Or maybe as parents, we should probably stop blaming it on school. Talk just very quickly. I'm going to get into some of the questions.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I look at things, you sold the business. Was it ever your intention to come back into planning, or was it like, no, I'm done, I'm going to find my next thing?
I think sometimes in my own mind, I think that I cared too much. So I took on board people's problems and concerns and things like that. I took it on board. I really took it to heart. So that's the way I am. So I think that was leading me down a path of, I need to be able to turn off, and I wasn't able to turn off. I also think that where, I suppose, without blowing my own trumpet, my skills lie is in being able to organize it so that other people can be their best people. So we've got some great advisors in our office, and they don't need me to help them be a great advisor. They're already great advisors. But what I don't want one great advisor in our office. I want 10 great advisors in our office. So if I can make it such that we've got a system and a process that our business can grow because we've got 10 advisors, we're putting on an 11. I mean, that's where my end game is. And that's why I think I'm better at doing that stuff than being an advisor and only being able to help X amount of people. This way I get to help more people.
I completely agree with you. I saw an interview with Jose Mourinho, who is the coach of my team, Tottenham, but he was asked about, how do you coach world-class players? He says, when you reach the level of working with those kind of people, you don't coach them how to be better football players. They are better football players. You coach them how to be a team.
Yep.
And that's, I think, the really key part. I think, as you know, whether it's a practice manager or a coach, you need to understand the mechanics of how it works. But ultimately, your goal is not to focus on the be a better advisor. It's how can I make it work so you can be a better advisor, right?
Yeah.
Let's dive into some of the questions, because there's a question which came out which is really relevant, and I think it was asked by I think it was Nigel, actually. He's one of the first. So you've worked with two businesses in a practice management capacity, is that correct?
Yeah, so after I sold my business, I was sort of on a bit of gardening leave. So part of the contract was that I wouldn't become an advisor somewhere else, which was completely fair enough. So I went and worked for a Godfrey Pembroke advisor in the city, and I just sort of helped him set up a few things. I knew it was just an interim position, but I gained experience in different products and things that I hadn't used as an advisor myself. So sort of built on that experience and set up how to do things. That was under, obviously, Godfrey Pembroke's under the MLC and NAB sort of license. So I also was privy to understanding, you know, how things work in a dealer group realm, which has got its own problems and hurdles and things that you've got to overcome. And that's hard because often you can't make as many changes. So that's one of the biggest things. Being in small business and or being a self-licensee, I think has been awesome, because you get to make those changes. If you want to move the ship, move the ship. You know, you don't have to be looking all the way up into the bank executives to get a sign off on something. So that's what makes it exciting as well, I suppose.
Agreed.
That's where I was at. Then I actually moved into sales. So funnily enough, I then had some time being a BDM. So that's helped as well and grew my passion for sales and how it works from an advisor perspective and what else people need, all that sort of thing. And then I came back into operations.
Then into operations, which is obviously straight into with BBB, which was a very different role, larger business. Just out of interest, BDMs make good practice managers, or is it? They do. And why?
Yep. They're just organized. I think part of the mindset of being an operations manager for a business is it helps that I had my own business. I think it's very much a balance of balancing up the client experience, because you want that to be great, but you need to be commercial. You need to have the business at heart. You know, you want your business to do better. You want the people you're working with to do better and to progress. So you do have that. Yes, you're constantly balancing that.
So to draw straight from Nigel's, in your opinion, what's the right time?
I did see that question, and such a good question.
Good question.
So I think that you can't do this. You can't do this if you're a 1-2 man show, I suppose. I mean, BBB has, when I started on the operations side of the financial planning business, and we had, of the accounting firm, sorry. We needed to get that right before we moved me over into financial services, which I've now been doing for the last 12 months. We had one advisor at the time, and we had, you know, say 160 different clients with that advisor. So that's the level. And what we wanted to do was we were all very much, we want to grow this business. So the decision was made. So when people ask questions or talk about, you know, do I have the support of the leadership group, or how do I get everyone on the same page and all those sorts of things? The best thing about my role is that I do feel that I've got the confidence of the leadership group, and I'm given, it's not free rein, I don't think. We work out together what we need to do next, but I can certainly have the ability to determine what I do on a daily basis, how we're going to go about it. I'm constantly throwing up new ideas about how we could solve these different problems. So financially, I think it would be a big jump for someone who's, say, 3-4 man band to go, okay, great, I think our next person is an operations manager. Now, I think you could do it, but you would probably be getting someone with less experience. But it doesn't mean that they couldn't do part of the role that I do, which is essentially all about the systems and processes. Okay, so you can have an organizer that is going to do that part of it for you. And I think that's where you can get scale. That's my mandate. That's what I think every day. I'm making this business a scalable business. We were a very successful financial planning business. There was nothing wrong with what was happening, but it's, do you want to take the next step? Do you want to grow it? Are we all on board? Is this what we want to do? Are we going to do anything to get there?
So I've taken from that, when you make it, either your practice hits that level when you're on 3 to 4 people, or you decided we're going to go for it. Like if you want to be a little lifestyle business, you might not need a practice manager. When you're, this is really important, when you're ready to allow others to take control of certain aspects. If you're not, don't go near it, because that'll only
100%.
it'll just frustrate everyone.
It will just frustrate everyone. Yep.
Like, presumably when your client numbers exceed a certain level, would you agree? Or is that just?
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. And that you want it, that you have multiple advisors probably.
Yep.
Like, I think that's where it comes, because one advisor often has their own way of doing things, and their way is okay. It could be better, but their way is probably okay. It's working for them. It's working. But it's when you need to then go, okay, now we do have our own AFSL. So part of it is stems from, okay, well, if we put on more advisors, we need everyone to be, singing from the same hymn book. We need for things to be such that if a client comes in and sees one of our advisors, it's going to be the same experience as if they see the other advisor. We want things to be that way across the board. So that's why it's important then to set up systems and processes, so that it's not just that it's a cookie cutter, but it's more that they do have that same experience. And also from a second point of view, it's about compliance, and it's about making sure that every single thing, those annoying little things, all of those annoying little things that could get us into strife, they all have to be done every single time without fail. So it's also a matter that's very important to us, having our own license. So it's also about that.
So I guess the two things, that if you have or intend to have multiple advisors, and or you have your own AFSL, and to sort of preface that, if you have your own AFSL and you don't like the detail, you don't like doing the stuff, that's probably when you should be looking at practice management. And I'm just going to add in there, when your profit is sufficient, that practice manager isn't going to put instant pressure on the income, because you just, if you start to have a conversation about income producing resources, well, a practice manager is going to create profitability and efficiency, but then, if you don't have enough profit in the business already, focus on that first, right?
Yeah. And look, one good thing that the guys always say to me and girls is that that it's an investment. So I'm like, because sometimes I even go, and I'm here, and I've got to make sure that I'm earning. But it's about that. It is they've chosen to make this investment. So it's not going to be within the first 6 months. We're going to move the dial, but they're not going to absolutely reap the profit of the benefit of doing this, probably for 12 months, maybe 24 months.
Let's talk about scope. Like, in your if a practice manager is coming in and they've been given the right brief, the right scope of the role, what are the key sort of things they're going to take ownership or manage? And I think someone asked this one.
Yeah, definitely. So I suppose a big part of what we are doing is rebuilding. So it's almost like we're building a financial planning firm from scratch. So it's all about documenting all of our systems. So one of our most exciting achievements since I've been working and doing ops for our financial services is our growing of our team offshore. So it was a massive hurdle, and we had been through lots of staff internally and with bums on seats, but we just weren't, for whatever numerous reasons, we weren't finding the right team. Now, we've got a financial planning admin assistant in Cebu, and we've also got a paraplanner now, and they're both delightful girls, and they're doing a brilliant job for us. So a big part of my role is managing that relationship. Okay. So that's one side of things. So it's processes and systems. Everything I do, I don't want to do again from scratch. So I will take, and it takes time, but I will take that 15 minutes or that 20 minutes and I will template that, whatever I've done. If it's an email and I liked how that sounded, bang, that becomes a template. I never want to write that email again. How do we do something? How do we send a form into Macquarie Wrap? Okay, I don't know, let's do it this way. Is that the best way? So I also question a lot of things. So there's a way that you can do things, and then there's a way that you need new eyes, fresh eyes on things, saying, yeah, but is that the best way? Just because that's the way you've always done it, is that the best way to do it?
Love it.
So that's a big part of my role, is questioning the current processes that we have and can we make them better? Because it's easy if you're in your business, it's really easy to just keep going along the way you're going. Because as I said, a lot of the time things aren't broken. But if you can make things better every day, that's my aim as well.
Can you give me an example of this, which is, something recently you've looked at and just gone, how can we do this better? And as a result of that, you've made improvements that otherwise would have just carried on.
Yeah, okay. So at the moment, we're doing a lot of, I run a lot of my processes out of Process Street. So that's where I'm putting in, it's essentially I'm building our little manual, manual for how things work within BBB.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that I'm doing, we do that. Now, we've also just taken on board as an accounting and financial planning firm. We've now got a new document management system, which is FYI Docs. We're using that, and it's got a lot of features. It's not just where we're, scanning, having all of our electronic files. It's also got workflow management. It's also got tasking. So now what I'm doing is I'm building all these systems that mean that things will be automated. So upon sending this email to this client to welcome them as a client of BBB, bang, these 3 tasks happen. Anne does this, the advisor does that, this person does that. So that's what I'm sort of working very heavily on. But mostly, Stu, it's about communications. I rewrite communications and how they work. And just looking at the best way for us to do things and and I'm really, I suppose, focused on making the onboarding of our clients efficient and a good experience for them.
I want to ask about technology. There's some great questions. We're going to definitely, by the way, Debbie, that was a cracking question. I think it was Debbie. Yeah. Technology. How much of your role is the technology side of things?
Yeah, it is. It is a lot. Now, I'm not super technical, because everyone could have just seen me then working on that. Now, that was not my fault, that sound thing, but I'm not super technical. But what I do is play with things. So we will go to something we will hear about, and that's about talking to your peer groups, what's working for them. What's working for them is not exactly how we might apply it in our business. So that's another important skill. It's not about just getting the new shiny toy and what we call plug and play. It never works like that. But it's about giving things a go. You've got to try things. You've got to be like, every day we talk about pushing the button. So it's one of our favorite sayings at work, and you've got to be just brave enough. Sometimes you just got to push the button, and you've just got to see what happens. And often you're not going to break things. So technology wise, yes, it is a big part of my role, and it's about trying things like we've done DocuSign and all of that over the last 24 months probably. Practice Ignition has been awesome for our business. So these are all things absolutely that within my role. The other people in my business might hear things and they say, hey, Ange, have you heard of this? So it's not always me coming up with those ideas, absolutely not. But it's about me then going away and working out whether that IT is right for us. And it's got to be that it's significant enough to either replace something or for us to spend the time to work out, is it worth us doing?
It's general rule of thumb is, if it doesn't make things faster, better or easier, don't go near it. But I agree, Angela, you've got to play. You've got to have time. So I'm just going to play with it and see what I can do it. And yeah, sometimes when you're under pressure and you're constantly chasing things, you don't get that time. And I think that's the biggest thing. You benefit. That is your role to do this stuff. It's like I say to people, it's not that I know more than other people. It's just I spend more time on this stuff than 99% of the industry, and you'd be the same, right?
Yeah, so that's right. So in terms of that, so it is about staff, it is about IT, it is about systems and processes, and it is about bringing the team together. So we have our weekly team meeting. We talk about things. Now, is that always a priority every week? No. And I've had to sometimes say to everyone, come on, get motivated. And I do that. So a big part of it is also bringing everyone together and I suppose just igniting conversations. So it's about what's working, what's not working. So you just probe people, and just so that you can bring things to light, put things on the table. There's no point in not discussing things. So I suppose that's another part of what I do.
I'm going to ask it because you're always very upbeat and positive and optimistic. So obviously you manage your energy very, very carefully, because I'm assuming that maybe, are you this way naturally? You consciously go, right, I'm going to go into work. My energy is going to have to be positive on people.
I did think about this last night, Stu, because I thought, oh, someone might ask, well, what sort of traits do you think? Look, you couldn't do this role if you were a negative person.
Okay.
You just couldn't. You would analyze things into oblivion. I mean, that's one thing. Like, I'm a Virgo. I'm meant to be a perfectionist, and in some ways I am, but you can't be, because you won't get anything done. Things are not going to be 100% right. So if you've got someone that's a stickler for, this has got to be perfect, this has got to be perfect, it's not going to be. So you've got to send it out, and you don't want, you've got to test, you've got to have your guinea pigs, you've got to do all of this stuff and make it as right as you can before you roll it out to clients. But it's their feedback as well. They're going to come back to you and say, hey, I didn't really like how that worked. Don't take it personally. You're not saying you didn't like how I did something. You're just saying, hey, that didn't work so well. So great, tell me that and we'll improve it.
Okay.
So you don't have all the answers all the time when you're trying to start something off. I think you've also got to be decisive. You can't fluff around and take 2 months to make a decision on something.
Okay.
It's just going to frustrate everyone. You need to be able to say, and you need to be able to, I think I stick at things. I'm like a dog with a bone. I do stick at things and I want to see them work. But I also, you have to have the ability to be able to go, rightio, we've just tried, what was it, Facebook, this is one of the ones that we just went, Facebook, whatever it was, their internal chat thing. That didn't work for us. And we just went, we rolled it out to everyone and we were all excited about it and we were all upbeat and said, this is going to be awesome for our business. It's going to bring us together as a team. And a couple of weeks later, we went, no, we don't like it. Let's do something else.
Have you read Seth Godin's The Dip?
No.
Great book.
I'm writing that down.
I read, I was going through a really challenging time in the business.
Yeah.
And he writes about it's the art of knowing when you've just hit a bit of a sticking point and you got to push through versus knowing that you failed and you should own up and leave. It's such a good book. And at the time, I can highly recommend it. If you're in that sort of stuck in one of those lulls that we all go through sooner or later and you're wondering, should I just throw it away, or whether it's just one of those, the image where the guy's chipping away and there's the gold just a bit further. So that's a really good book.
I think also Jenna mentioned one of the questions I saw that came through in terms of one of the other traits, I suppose, that I think you need to have, or that a person needs to have, is to be convincing. You need to be able to. Jenna sort of talked about the transition of power and how do I deal with the leaders of the business of handing over stuff, and that's not always easy. And look, I've got 6 partners that I deal with regularly, and they're all extremely different. And I've had to learn that, you can't go in with a sledgehammer with all of them. Not all of them like a sledgehammer. Some of them love the sledgehammer, but others don't. So you need to find a way to be able to take on board where they're coming from as well, and find another way to explain it. But you've got to explain, the whole what's in it for them thing. It's really important that you can explain that. But Jenna, I think the important thing is that they have got to have been ready and have made that decision that they're ready to hand over a big whack of the control before they hire someone. And I suppose that's also on me. They're trusting me, and therefore I've got to deliver. So I'm very conscious of that. I need to keep building that trust so that then they give me more responsibility, I suppose, and free rein to continue to do what I do. If I kept stuffing up, it would be harder and harder for them to do that.
Which I guess comes down to communication as well. Communicate, you want to, why you're doing it, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the how much thing? And that might lead to a point. You spoke about being able to be convincing and deal with personalities. And one of the things I've noticed between practice managers who are able to really step into this role and roles which are a bit more of an operations manager is the balance of power between the people who run the business, or the advisors, or the principals, and the people who have been given operational sort of responsibility. I tend to find the relationship between a true practice manager and the principals is very much equal.
Yeah.
It tends to be a bit more of a you're my boss thing.
Yeah. Look, it's funny. I've often said, I consider it my business. And that may come from being a business owner previously, but I treat it as if it's my business. I don't take anything for granted. So I don't I don't think, oh, they will let me do this. I never think like that, but I do consider it my business. Therefore, I want to do the best. And I think that comes through. So they realize that whatever I'm doing, whether things work or not work, the intention is there to make the business better.
That must be quite challenging at times. People, like when you got someone who's coming in and they believe they're treating it like their business, you would have certain personalities who would go, it's not your business, it's my business.
Yeah. So I think that's right. That's what I'm saying. You need to know still where your position is, because you're not. But I think that and look, you would need to ask the business owners perhaps.
Do I have to treat it like my business? Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sort of the range. If someone's listening to this and they're sort of going, well, I've been told I can have a practice manager for this much or that much. What's your experience of where it starts and goes?
Yeah, I think it's really about the experience, because you can get someone who's younger. Like I've got my own practice manager. So the business has gone now and we have a practice manager for the accounting side of the business.
Mm-hmm.
So, that person is much younger. They've got similar enthusiasm for things. They are logical in their thinking. They're an excellent communicator, but they're, in their early 20s. Now you could pay that person, say 70,000.
Yep.
You could get someone who is going to be doing those things and they will be able to do the base level of a practice manager. Absolutely. And they'll do a smashing job. Now, once they start getting into bringing forward their own ideas and their own perspective on things and they're driving it more, that person's going to be asking for 90,000.
Okay.
That they're doing more of the stuff. But I suppose where you're getting into someone more with my experience, that's another level again, because you're bringing with it the perspective of so much more experience, that you're seeing it from, you know how to see it from different angles.
Yep.
A younger person with less experience or whatever may be great at doing the organizing. They may be great at aspects of the role, but they perhaps aren't going to take it as quickly maybe and as effectively to the next stage.
Great stuff. Like good operations people will do what's required, but they're still mentoring. Great people who are really good at practice management. They'll take an idea. Sometimes you don't even ask them. They'll just spot something and they'll ask for sign off, and next thing you know, there's a project underway and it started. So ultimately, I think when you get at the top end, I think like for good people, I think you're starting at 150 and going up very, very quickly. But that's the whole point about the return on investment. If you get systems and process and efficiency and people and going in the right direction, staff trained, you can lift your profit by a significant amount.
Yeah, and it's often that you're wearing a couple of hats. So that's exactly right, Stu. We don't have a separate HR department. We don't have a separate marketing department. So that is me in unison with other people, but that is me. That's what I still see. The buck stops with me on those different areas. So you could either choose to specialize, or you could choose to get a well-rounded, I suppose, practice manager or ops manager that can take on board an overseeing role on a lot of those areas.
Love it. I want to ask this question, which is a couple of questions. Jill says she wants to understand the benefits that practice managers provide. Nigel asked, what's the value proposition? And I've written down here how. If you were going to measure the success of a practice manager and you're going to put it out there and say, this is what I want to achieve, what are some of the things that you think practice managers good practice managers will bring to the table? What should you measure them on and what should you not measure them on? Like obviously revenue from clients, they can influence, but that's probably not a great metric for a practice manager. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. And look, we've got that internally with me, I suppose, even to some extent, is that's right. Measuring admin is hard, and especially from an accounting backgrounded firm. They're all about timesheets and they're all about hours on the clock and they're all about jobs getting done and the profitability on jobs and all those sorts of things. So it is quite, it turns things on its head a little bit. I suppose the way that I'm performance managed, I suppose, is about how far have we come? So we talk about where we are now, and a baseline, this is what we were. It's about number of clients. It's about how efficient we are. It's about what our clients' experience is like. I mean, we've got a ready-made client base. We're so lucky. We've got hundreds and thousands of accounting clients that we can tap into for our financial planning. So we don't have that side of issue. So, but you're right. I mean, but that, not all of that is on me either. I can set up I can build the foundation, but it's up to us as a team to get everyone through that system and to create leads and to do those sorts of things. So it really is, it's a team productivity thing. So I appreciate that it is hard to value a practice manager or an operations manager. I think you just need to start with where you are now and where do you want to see your business get to. And you just need to know that those things are being done. Because I've got to tell you, I really genuinely believe if I wasn't there, the business could have stayed the way it is. The business could still be the way it is.
Yep.
So, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you say, we want to grow this business, the business owners can come with ideas, but they can't spend the whole day doing the stuff.
I agree.
They just can't. So it's not going to happen. They can have ideas and they can go, oh yeah, but it won't come to fruition unless you've got someone driving it.
Sooner or later, as a business owner, it's kind of like the space shuttle analogy, which is, the space shuttle goes up, it's got fuel tanks, it gets higher and higher, the fuel gets empty. If you continue to hold on to everything you did when the business launched, it will pull you back down to orbit. And there comes a point where one of the best investments I think you can make is on somebody else to manage the engine that drives the business, so you can focus on whether it's the marketing or the partnerships or mentoring. Focus on the thing that you are best at. And I think if you know what that investment point is, which for me, it's usually sort of the third stage, you will know finding the right person and investing in that is one of the best things you can do. Yeah. Let's pull out a couple of questions. This has been really, really good. Malcolm, this is an interesting question. You want to know how to help merge a number of businesses. And I'm going to flick it around a little bit, but if you've done this work, tell us, but how do you merge, different mindsets, different attitudes, maybe even different advice specializations? Because it's kind of similar from merging a business. How do you manage that?
Yeah. We've got different personalities. We haven't done a big merger with another business, and I've spoken to people that have, and I can imagine that would add another layer of complexity onto things. I think you do have to be clear that you can't please everyone. You have to understand that you're not going to be able to please everyone. I think you need to also be cognizant of listening to everyone's perspective, where they're coming from, and then you need to be able to make a decision yourself, and you need to guide everyone, because if you allow it just to continue to be, well, here's my idea, again, you're not going to get anywhere. At some point, you've got to say, I'm going to take on board that I reckon that's worth doing, I reckon that's good, and let's mold those together. If one particular business, you don't take a lot of ideas from them, maybe so be it. Maybe they weren't up to where the other businesses are, but it's just about communicating with them early and just saying, look, we see that what you were doing, it's not wrong, but just, can you see perhaps that this is where we're heading with it? Can you see how that might make benefits or changes?
Like end game for me. Exactly. If you sit down at the beginning, you invest time going, what do you want? What do you want? Where do we want to, and you can find the commonality. Whenever you're on strategies or tactics, or you just bring it back to, we're in this together because we're aiming at that end game. The moment that end game is not the same, believe it's going to get there, the merge is like done. But if you don't have that the commonality of where we're headed as businesses and why we're doing this, you'll end up arguing about operations and stuff.
Yeah. And, a big thing for me, it was a real eye-opener for me at how little some people like change. And because I love change, and that's another thing in this role. There's just, I don't see, like, you think, oh, well, at some point I'll get to the end of this role. Surely I'll have done everything. There's no way, because there's so much changing in our own industry, and there's so much technology changing all the time that there's not. You have to love change. And so it's a way of managing that. As I said, I haven't really had formal experience in it, but it's sort of intuitively, you've got to go, okay, well, and also, why don't you let those people show you how they do it? And let them, there might be some parts of it, great, let's take that. So I know I haven't really answered that super well, but
Mel's come back with it. It sounds like you need to be more patient. I think if you don't have time to spend some time managing the people, to your point, understanding what motivates them, it's very hard to bring these together. Like, you've got to have sit down and get to know what they want to achieve almost at an individual level. And that's going to give you the platform.
Yeah, but at some point you have to be brave enough to go, this is the decision we're making.
True. It's the whole Steve Jobs movie where he turns around, tells the guy, this is where we're headed. And if you don't like it, get out of here. But you've got to, this is where we're headed in order to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Great question. How do you deal with staff that are resistant to change? And I'm going to add to that. How do you deal with principals who tell you they want this, and then when it actually comes to the operational side, it scares them?
Debbie, let's take that offline. Look, it is really hard. I think you're not going to get along. Firstly, personality wise, you're not going to get along with everyone, and you have to just. I have worked hard, and I've worked equally hard, and I know that my team has as well. We've all really recognised in each other, hey, that person's great at that. End of story. Let's let them run with that. That person is really good at that. Let's let them go with that. And sometimes they're the people that I then just go back to. If it's about a particular function that we're doing, I might go to one particular partner rather than going to everyone going, what does everyone think? Because we just get nowhere because there's too many different points of view. So I think the business as well has had to go, okay, they've had to realize themselves that these are my strengths. And so this is what we deal with. Look, Debbie, there's still things where I'll set up a process and it's a humming little process, and then someone will decide that they want to go off and they off on a tangent, and it just makes me go, and I go, for a second. And then I just go, okay, so what was wrong with the process? Tell me, what was it about the process that didn't work that made you want to go off on a tangent? Was it just that you had a brain fade, or was it that you don't like it?
That's so true.
And then you sort of nut that out a little bit. But it is absolutely number one, my biggest challenge.
So Tony Robbins says, and you probably got it from Joe Rohan, what's her name? Anyway, he said, if you want to influence someone, you need to first understand what's already influencing them and park whatever you want next to it. And that's I think, a really, really key part of it. The other thing is I can add is, don't try, if you're trying to enact change in the business and you've got 20 staff or 15 staff, don't try to do all of them. Pick it in a circle. 3 or 4 or 5 people, get them on side, and then slowly pick off the people one by one, starting with the people you can get on side, until eventually you'll have so many people who are on your side or have made the change. Everybody else over there will be going,
Absolutely the truth. Yeah, can't work. It doesn't work any other way. We tried initially to roll things out to everyone to make it sort of fair, and that we weren't, but it just doesn't. A lot of people, and there is that whole early adapters and later, there are people that want to see it fail, work, whatever. They want all of the, things to be smoothed out, all the creases to be smoothed out before they're willing to jump. But then they're not being against it. And that's the other thing that you've got to be really important to understand, is that they're not necessarily against it. They just need you to get more runs on the board.
Yeah, there is an analysis you can do on a business, saboteurs and advocates. And you realize who are the people who back things, and they do it at different rates. But if you've got a saboteur, who's someone who will create problems, I don't care how good they are or how smart they are, they've got to go. Sabotage working. Have you got to go anywhere, Angela, or can we?
No, I don't. No. Sorry about the IT thing. We got cut short.
Sam, good question. What do you see as the biggest compliance challenges operationally that you think could be done better in most businesses, or needs to be done better? That's a big question.
Yeah, it is. We're still having. We could better. An area we want to be better in is still the production of the SOA.
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of ticking off compliance and the things that we need to get done on a file, I mean, they're things that we now have pretty much down pat. We have them automated. We've got templates. As I said, we don't do it to such a cookie cutter extent. Our clients still, they're high income clients. We absolutely value them, and they're going to get a high level of service from us. So we want to do that, but we also want to scale. We can't offer bespoke service, because you can't say to a client, I'm going to charge you tens of thousands of dollars for an SOA for bespoke advice. And you can't, it becomes very difficult, because it's about their expectations and what we need to do from a compliance perspective. So I still think that the SOA's got a lot of work in terms of its compliance and how it's delivered. So that's something that is going to be a focus for me very soon. We're almost to the point of finishing our onboarding side of things.
No.
So I hope that sort of answered your question. I mean, I get assistance, as I said, I get a lot of assistance. So one of the advisors who was the advisor has been there for 15 years. She also assists me on the compliance front, because I sort of did say, look, I can't tackle everything. And that's something that she's very good at. She's very stringent on that sort of thing. It's her name on the license, and she will protect it. And I sort of I take care of the processes to ensure those things happen. Yeah, I hope that
I
answers.
love it. I just want to add one thing, which is going forward, 5 years from now, compliance and workflow will be the same thing. So adopting a workflow system that enables you to track things and tick things and monitor what's going on and produce FDSs, that's the future.
Absolutely.
Guys, this has been really, really good. Do me a favor. If I've missed any questions that you really want to ask, put them in the box right now. Very quickly, Angela, let's go. Just give us what do you think are the biggest mistakes that most practices make when it comes to the way they manage things that are most easily fixed from your perspective, or at least, the benefit of fixing them is pretty significant. Like 2 to 3.
Yeah, I think trying to be the advisor who's client facing and that's doing all those things, that's where your skills, that's where the skill lies. Like you can't do all of those things. And it really does take time. Like my role does take time. I may spend an hour or 2 hours drafting the perfect email. It does take, and you go back to it, and then I'll send it for a couple of weeks, and then I'll reread it and go, oh, we need to add this in. We're not even telling them about that. So things do take time, and they need someone that's not, I think being a client facing person, like Stu, you asked me before about my own energy, but at least my own energy, I don't get in front of a client every day. I mean, these people that are the advisors, you're also managing the expectations of your clients and getting in front of them and getting up for them. It's hard for you then to get up for your team and to be able to spend the time and have the headspace, I suppose. So I think as much as you can think about it on your weekend or whatever the case may be, it's about, you're good at what you do and being in front of the client. That is what you do. And you need to recognize that it's okay to, as long as you've got the right person that's doing this for you, you need to be really confident that you have the right person.
So so not managing any, believing you can grow. Can we talk about, can I pop one in there and see what you think?
Yeah.
I think the biggest mistake I see is principals who sit down and go, this is the strategy, this is how I want it run. And they hand it over to an operations manager or a practice manager who's responsible for doing it. And then the problem child in the whole business that doesn't do the things that need to get done is the team who've just said this is the outcome they want. So I guess how do we get that is, not how do we cover that?
Not adhering to, I suppose, not practicing what they preach a little bit. And I suppose I think it's interesting, Stu, because one of the things that I didn't bring up is that, because I really do feel that on the whole, our team has been awesome at that. So I don't see that as a problem every day.
Yeah.
But I can see that it would be.
Actually, working with you guys, there is a huge openness to doing things differently. I think that probably makes life a lot easier. Angela, this has been so good. It's always the best webinars come after we have technical problems. Would you please do me a favor, those of you who are still here? Again, if we haven't captured a question, please, let me know and I'll try and grab it. But what have you taken from today? What's been the most useful thing? What is the one thing that's kind of, light bulbs in your head, or you think, you know what, I'm going to take that back and do that. So take that.
That is a good question. No, I don't think, I think if you get a part-time, I don't think it does. No.
So the question,
I think if you make headway. Oh, sorry. Yes. So the question is, do they have to be full-time? I think the size of our organisation and the amount of stuff that we want to get done that's on our wish list is well and truly a full-time position, if not more. But I think if you want to start out, but you want someone to start implementing, starting somewhere is so much better than not taking the leap. So if they can only do part-time for now, but you're going to see a change in your business, I think absolutely wholeheartedly go for part-time.
Are there some days, if you're going to have a part-timer, is there some days they need to be in the business versus some days they can not be in the business?
Yeah. Look, especially over this whole COVID thing. I mean, I've got 3 children. So there's on a Wednesday afternoon, I leave work at whatever time to go and pick up my kids. That's my thing. So from, 2:30 on a Wednesday, I'm in the office. The office doesn't catch on fire. It's fine. You've set it up that way. So there's absolutely no need for, I think it's good to have regular meetings. I really think that there's benefit in sticking to those sorts of things and about having conversations with your team constantly about what they're liking and what they're not and what they need. I always say, well, what do you need? How can I make it better?
Love it.
Guys,
Guys,
you can do that anywhere.
Put in the chat box. Let me know what you've taken from it. Martin would love to know from you. Matt, Nigel, Jill, you've been really good with the feedback. Thank you. Jenna, ditto. Greg, what's the thing you've taken from today? And Angela, while they do that, if there's one thing, people want to sort of connect with you or find out more about BBB or, come along and see you speak or whatever your thing might be, how can they do it?
Oh, I absolutely love peer engagement and things like that. Like I've been, even through COVID, getting online with people and having conversations about how they're going with things and what else. Because I mean, I don't think all of this should stop us from. It certainly hasn't stopped us at BBB from doing anything or growing the business. So please just connect on LinkedIn or shoot me an email, or I'm always, because I think the more you give, conversations are never really one way. You're always going to get something from someone too. And I'm more than happy to help or share absolutely any question.
Yeah, so shoot out an email. I've written the details of Angela Laughlin. Laughlin? Yeah, we're allowed to. It's a good Scottish name, right? Or is it Irish?
We're the Irish version, yeah.
Great. So Debbie says, great advice. Managing people is the hardest thing. Yep, that's true. Especially people who've been doing something one way for 20 years. I have some great tips that I can take away and start using. That's awesome, Debbie. Thank you. Jenna, success. She's a practice manager herself, and she's about to go into my performance review. Well, there you go.
Good luck.
I hope I'm pronouncing it. Robert Mayhew. Awesome insights. Thank you so much for your time and knowledge. Nigel, I've discovered that I'm in the pseudo practice manager for our startup practice. Yes, Nigel, I am not surprised by that at all. Whether sometimes it ends up being a default thing, but yeah, there's always someone that ends up sort of taking over more of it. Jill, this has been excellent. It's really given me an expose on its personality traits. That's something I really took from it. The challenge that needs to be addressed and the benefits. Colin says, good webinar, common sense approach to everything. Absolutely. Nigel says, we're on the Poster Street Junior and Zapier, and Genesis, thank you. And Sam says, thanks. The experience is the insight. And yeah, Angela, that was awesome. I mean, we went so deep on so many things. And I think for me, the really important part I'll take out of it is I think the work hard wants, the question about when you can do this better. And also, I think the one thing that's really stuck with me is look for people who are going to treat your business like theirs and give them the space and opportunity to succeed. And I think if there's one thing that I will take from that when I'm sort of helping businesses to look for practice managers, is this person treating your business like theirs? If they're not ready for a practice manager role. If they are, back them.
Yay.
Well said. Any final thoughts, Angela?
No, other than, I suppose just you have to try things. So don't sit there and go, we want to grow, and don't do anything about it. If you want to do something about it, then give it a go. It may not work for you, and that may be the person or whatever else, but it doesn't hurt to try.
Love it. Great. Angela, thank you so much for today. Enjoy your day. Everybody,
thanks for inviting me.
Being sticking on. As I said, if you want any questions, connect with Angela on LinkedIn. I'll be back in about 20 minutes for a pin. But yeah, after that, I'll leave it there. Thanks. Have a great day, Angela.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.